The entire class is taking a physical strength exam. To pass, everyone bought stimulant from their teacher. Everyone, that is, except our MC. He simply can't afford those pricey stimulants. When the exam finally begins, the others barely manage 30 pull-ups, even with their magic wrist weights. They try their best, but that's their absolute limit. When it's our MC's turn, the teacher decides to take revenge on him for refusing to buy the stimulants and cranks up the weight on his magic bracelets many times over. But that still doesn't stop our MC. He easily pumps out 100 pull-ups, completely humiliating everyone else. They just can't fathom how this broke. Loser utterly surpassed them all. So, here's how he got such incredible strength. Jochin was a bottom-of-the-barrel ear anchor, burdened with crippling debt. The last thing he did to fix his hopeless life was to summon a powerful demon that could make him rich and, well, powerful. However, that's not how a deal with the devil really works. He learns that the hard way, when a lightning bolt crashes down from the sky and ends his pathetic life on the spot. A few moments later, he wakes up with a mind-numbing headache because he still has an important project to finish. When our boy looks at his reflection, he is utterly shocked by his own face. Looking up at the giant white tree in the sky, he wonders what in the world is even going on. That is when a mysterious being congratulates him on successfully summoning it and grants him exactly 3 wishes. This makes him panic for a moment, and he finally realizes that he's been sent into another world. At first, he thinks he's the protagonist of some iSky story, and the floating book granting him 3 wishes is a wish-granting gold finger. Thinking 3 wishes is far too little, he gets a big brain idea and boldly asks for 10 wishes as his first request. Hearing that, the demonic book gets excited, as it quickly catches on that this isn't his original summoner. The demon then unleashes its terrifying true form. It happened after realizing a new soul had possessed Joe's body. Our boy is utterly bewildered and absolutely terrified after seeing the monstrous entity, who quickly informs him that it devoured the body's original soul and was poised to claim it for itself. He quickly realizes he's been sent into the wrong world. He tries to escape as fast as his legs can carry him, but the demon simply snaps its fingers and instantly engulfs his body in searing flames, because even the thought of breaching the contract will condemn him to suffer endless, hellish punishment. His agonizing screams echo throughout the streets, and the demon believes it's time to end this charade, since the boy truly was as pathetic as it assumed. But just then, our corporate-savvy protagonist gets a brilliant idea. He claims it won't count as breaching the contract if the demon's punishment makes it utterly impossible for him to fulfill his part. Hearing a mere human attempt to negotiate with it, the demon is intrigued. Joe grins, saying it would have seized his body by force already, if that were even possible. He confidently claims this was nothing more than a mere test of his willpower, and he proved himself more than worthy. His audacious statement makes the demon erupt in laughter, and it declares he's the first human to even think about making a deal with the devil itself. Suddenly, he's given a chance to sign the contract, and the demon agrees to grant him a fresh start if he accomplishes just one of its wishes. However, that sly bastard's very first wish is to get 1,000 more wishes. The demon then rubs in his face that he has no other choice but to accept, since he's practically dead otherwise. With absolutely no choice left, he tells his new boss that the deal is sealed and signs the contract with his very soul on the line. The next morning, he finally stumbles into his apartment, looking utterly disheveled, like he'd been running wild or attacked by wild beasts all night. His new boss completely ditched him right after the contract was finalized, but he decides to just endure it, since he's practically a slave now anyway. As he steps into the apartment, he's hit by the sight of utter desolation, and it's eerily empty. Suddenly, he finds a blood-signed death note and wonders what the hell is going on with his family. Just then, a loud voice booms from behind him, and he's savagely whacked by a metal bat, smashing into the back of his skull. The crude intruder screams at him for blowing off his calls, but his partner quickly warns him not to actually kill the kid. His buddy cautions that this kid could be dangerous, since he's an oracle. Confused and furious, our hero demands to know who these guys are. And the blonde guy's polite reply? A brutal kick slamming into his chest, demanding to know the whereabouts of his useless hag of a mother. He then insults him for having such a stupid mom, who works herself to death, desperately trying to pay off debts for a deadbeat son. Like him, he scoffs, amused that his mom doesn't even realize he'll always be nothing but garbage, calling both him and his mother a complete waste of oxygen. Suddenly, Joe's mind flashes back to a childhood memory where he confessed to his mom that he didn't want to be a loser anymore. He had a nightmare where his mom toiled so relentlessly she died from exhaustion, and deep down, he worried that it might actually happen one day. When he nervously asked what would happen if he never awakened as an oracle, his mom simply told little Chun to stop worrying. She promised that even if the entire world crumbled, she would always be there for him, and encouraged him to have confidence in himself. Back in the present, he ignites with rage and unleashes a lightning fast punch straight into the blonde guy's face out of nowhere as the scumbag is sent flying backward. His partner hears a thunderous thud and screams at him to stop before he kills the kid, only to see the blonde guy's body fly right past him. After the dust settles, the blonde guy's face is so utterly disfigured that even plastic surgery won't be able to fix it. Witnessing this, the other two stare, stunned by the sudden shift in his aura, believing he just had a real-time breakthrough. Meanwhile, our boy glares at them with his coldest stare yet, and snarls at the bastards to shut their filthy mouths, deciding this E-rank brat needed a serious lesson. The goon snarls at June, declaring it was time to whoop some sense into him. By breaking a leg or two, our boy quickly catches on that they're actually talking about his power. He figures they're probably a higher level than him anyway. As June swings his pipe down from overhead, Joe sees it move in slow motion, easily leaping out of the way. He then instantly appears right behind the gorilla, delivering a gentle knee right to his face. This savage kick sends the fool absolutely flying. After that, his partner attacks from behind, wondering how a mere E-ranker could be so freakishly agile. The man thinks Joe can't possibly see him, so he aims to shatter a couple of ribs. However, he gets his own rib cage destroyed by a brutal roundhouse kick. Instead, as he gets tossed out like last night's trash, the guy cannot believe what's even happening. The man begs our boy for mercy, claiming he only came on Lin Yu's orders to collect the loan money. Hearing that, he tells the loan shark to tell his boss that he'll get his money in due time, so he needs to chill out and get the hell out of his life. The goons shudder at his words and quickly waddle out through the front door. Just then, Joe asks the demon if he's there, and Goldfinger is surprised. The amateur was able to sense his presence. He replies that he was able to feel his power, surging strongly through his body. The demon tells him to be grateful for the help. Our boy excitedly butters him up, calling him boss, and says he doesn't need to be afraid of anyone if he borrows his power. That irritates the demon, because a peasant mortal should not even dare to think about wielding the power that could easily end his life if he used it over his limit. Shu is shocked to hear that, and asks the boss how he can grant his wishes if he isn't strong enough. Goldfinger assures him that he will get stronger from rewards, but warns him to absolutely forget about using his power for the time being. Our hero is pretty bummed out after hearing that, but Goldfinger thinks to himself just how insane he wielded his power. That makes him wonder if Joe is secretly his fated partner. Afterward, he asks the boss about his second wish and what he should do next. But the demon simply tells him to forget about it and just do whatever he wants for now. Hearing that, he sighs, realizing there's a lot he has to learn about this new world, and it looks like his new body won't be all that useful. He pulls out Joe's phone to get a better idea of what the boy's life was actually like. First, he notices he didn't get a single message or call from his family. But when he opens his sister's text, what he sees leaves him completely speechless. She texted him a while ago, urging him to come as fast as he can because their mom had fallen into a coma Later, at the hospital, he throws the door wide open, full of suspense. Inside, he sees a girl who seems to be his sister, hunched over in deep worry, in front of their mother's bed. It takes him a moment to realize the atmosphere is painfully uncomfortable, which makes sense since he totally ignored his sister before. He walks up to her and looks at the woman in the bed, who is supposed to be his mother. He can't believe how bad her state is, compared to the memory he has of her in his mind, and he wonders if it's all Joe's fault. With a guilty look, he apologizes to his sister for being late, and asks how their mother is doing. But she just smiles in anger, asking, "What lame excuse are you going to give her this time?" She repeats all the stupid excuses he made in the past, about training and summoning demons. Suddenly, she bursts out at him, unable to believe that he couldn't even come out, to see his mom, who went into a coma, because she ground herself down to the bone, to pay off his loans. He goes quiet when she says their mother nearly died, having exhausted her funds for the hospital bills, after finally settling his insurmountable debts. After letting all her frustrations out, she tells him that this is it, they're done, and hands him a card covering 6 months of his expenses, stating she'll take care of their mother alone. He breaks out in a sweat, confused, asking what she means, and his sister calmly declares he's dead to her. Later, outside, Goldfinger senses the dark emotions swirling around him, and asks why the human girl's words sting so deeply. The demon assures him he wasn't the cause of this pain, but he remembers that Joe's sister reminded him of his own pathetic self, who once made the very same mistake, which makes his boss erupt in laughter, and tells him not to let it delay his grand plan. Hearing this, Joe turns to him and asks if becoming stronger will truly solve all his problems, and the demon confirms they will all vanish if he proves he truly has what it takes. With that resolve, he's fully determined to embark on his training arc. Meanwhile, at a bustling nightclub, the debt collector boss tells his secretary to get their team working at top speed, because his impatient customers won't wait around. But his secretary informs him that a mere student actually beat up 3 of their toughest guys. Hearing this, the gangster boss remembers his men tried to collect payment before the deadline, ruining his reputation. His secretary says he'll ensure they get their punishment, but also explains it's a very serious problem because this student managed to take down guys who were significantly above his level. That instantly grabs the boss's full attention. And then, without hesitation, he quickly snatches the report with Joe's profile. He thinks the boy is far stronger than he lets on, because no amount of skill can let a level 2 fighter beat a level 3. Ultimately, he orders his secretary to keep a close tab on the boy. The scene then shifts to our hero out on a morning jog. His friendly neighbor offers him a sweet deal on some supplements, but he tells the old man he'll come back later. Seeing how incredibly energetic he is, the man wonders if maybe he found himself a girlfriend or something. Meanwhile, Joe's been intensely busy getting used to his new body, bulking up and gathering crucial information. All this ever since he got discharged. He soon discovers that people with special abilities are called oracles, and that he's plunged deep into debt. The reason? Supplements needed to get stronger cost him an arm and a kidney. Though he's unsure of his ultimate limits, he's already gotten incredibly swole, with just a few days of training and these special drugs. As he's deep in thought, his phone rings. He picks up. A voice on the other end screams at him, reminding him that he totally forgot to come back, as their teacher had asked. Hearing this, our boy suddenly remembers that he completely ghosted them. The next day at school, he learns there are 6 ranks from A to E. To advance, you must reach the highest level of your current rank to move to the next, which takes monstrous effort due to the enormous power gap. The world itself is divided into 5 layers. E ranks and normal plebs like him reside in the outermost zones. Meanwhile, D ranks and higher occupy the inner layers. Realizing he's bottom-tier trash, he vows to get stronger as quickly as possible, aiming to enter the middle layers fast. Suddenly, a Neanderthal hits him from behind with a flicked booger and laughs right in his face. His buddy jokes that our boy looks so weak, they could probably pummel him, even though he's a level 1 oracle just like them. Hearing this, Our boy is utterly annoyed that such monkeys still exist in this world, right? And then the teacher shows up for class. Later, he's outside, stretching, thinking his school life is going surprisingly well so far. Just then, someone calls out to him from behind. A few minutes later, Booger Guy is absolutely shocked to see our boy embroiled in a fight with the strongest guy in their class. His buddy isn't surprised, though, since he's used to seeing Joe fight. The bully then tells our hero he's gotten way too cocky for his own good, just because he aced his written exams. He declares an oracle's true worth lies in their strength, and that his level 1 strength is utterly pathetic. Upon hearing that, our boy reminds the bully he's level 1 trash too, which sends the bully into a rage, and he throws a wild, violent hook. Shu effortlessly snatches the fist with one hand and twists his wrist with the other, asking if he's finished his yapping. The enraged bully can't believe he's being overpowered by him, and he wonders if Joe's grown taller than before. Next, Joe hurls the guy's words right back at him, declaring that strength is everything. Then, he politely asks for permission to smash his face in. Meanwhile, the bully sweats profusely, thinking he's about to get utterly thrashed. The coach suddenly materializes and gets absolutely furious at our boy for stirring up trouble in his class. The coach looks as perpetually irritated as ever and asks if he plans to stir up trouble. The moment he gets back, our boy puts on the most innocent face he can muster, claiming they were only playing around. The bully yanks his hand free, telling him to let go. Seeing things finally cool down, the coach warns our hero one last time and orders everyone to line up for testing. Soon after, the students gather beside a pull-up bar while Coach Gigi starts running his mouth. He hypes them up about the upcoming tournament against other schools, promising that strong results will not only bring glory to the school, but also open doors to elite academies. By the end of his speech, he shamelessly starts plugging his miracle supplements, like the scam artist he truly is. The challenge begins with the bully hitting 50 pull-ups in one go. Joe is unimpressed, remarking that this feels more like a TikTok challenge than a serious test, right? Just then, a voice calls out to him, asking if he's doing all right. The class rep admits she was worried, since he'd ignored her messages for days. She quickly tries to cover it up, insisting she was just curious about him. But our hero quickly reassures her nothing's amiss. Shifting gears, she then asks why he won't buy the teacher's totally shady supplements. Joe bluntly replies that he's completely broke. She tries to warn him about the dire consequences of skipping out on the purchase, but her name gets called out before she can finish. Wishing her good luck, he sends her on her way. She only manages 25 pull-ups before completely failing, but then the coach recalls she bought 2 bottles from him earlier and magically bumps her score all the way to 35. Suddenly, it clicks for our hero that this is the real reason every single student bought that overpriced junk in the first place. Otherwise, they'd risk getting outright expelled. But finally, Joe steps forward for his turn at the pull-up bar. The coach narrows his eyes, watching him closely, fully aware our hero never bought a single bottle from him. A twisted, menacing smile creeps across his face as he decides to make an example out of him for not buying his trashy, overpriced merch. Meanwhile, Joe studies the pull-up bar and the peculiar wrist guards, noting they look perfectly normal at first glance, but there has to be some trick behind them. The moment he grips the bar, his eyes go wide in absolute shock. His body suddenly feels impossibly heavier, and he quickly figures out that the strange crystals embedded in the wrist guards are adding extra, hidden weight. Even so, our boy absolutely refuses to give in, realizing that these crystals must have a weight limit. Determined, he pushes through. He proceeds to pump out reps like they're absolutely nothing. The other students stare on in utter disbelief, floored that this so-called weakling is outperforming them with such ridiculous ease. They lose their minds when Joe blasts past 100 reps, yelling that he must be at least a second tier. When he finally lets go of the bar, a massive crowd swarms him, bombarding him with endless, excited questions. Meanwhile, the coach is utterly frozen stiff, wondering if the boys secretly juiced on enhancers. Fear creeps in as he realizes students might no longer need his sketchy, overpriced supplements. Just then, a devilish smile forms on his face, crafting a sinister plan against our hero. Meanwhile, the scene shifts to the principal, absolutely fuming during a phone call. He's furious about the cancellation of their second-tier events and protests that the school is severely underfunded, barely scraping by with only third-tier students. The person on the other line bluntly replies that the system is exclusively searching for elite oracles. That's why. All the money is being funneled into top schools. Slamming the phone shut, the principal face-bombs in utter frustration, realizing the school lacks funds to produce even a single elite oracle. His eyes then fall on a black crystal locked in a glass case as he racks his brain over how to keep the school in business. His thoughts are cut short as Coach Gigi's voice calls from just outside the office. The coach then strolls in and proudly lays down a list of names. He claims these students will rise into elite oracles. The principal scans the paper and immediately sees that every single name listed is barely first tier. Yet, the coach is selling them as absolute prodigies. The coach then adds, there is one student who is unfit to become an oracle. The principal immediately takes the bait, asking who it is as the story shifts back to our hero, making his way toward the principal's office, with the demon still lingering beside him. The demon, from within the cursed book, asks what trouble he's caused this time, but Joe stays quiet, standing outside the door. He remembers how nasty the headmaster's reputation is, hoping nothing ugly comes of this meeting. Right as he reaches for the handle, flames suddenly burst into existence in front of him, catching him completely off guard. The demon's eyes light up, thrilled that the triggered wish he mentioned earlier has finally appeared. He orders Joe to track down the object fast, but Joe immediately starts complaining about how ridiculously bad the timing is. His thoughts are cut short when the principal himself abruptly breaks the silence, telling him to stop wasting time and get inside already. Stepping inside, Joe politely asks why the headmaster called for him. The principal flips through Joe's school record and then asks the student, Joe, what he thinks it takes to become an oracle. Without waiting for a reply, the principal answers himself, declaring it all comes down to money. He then tells Joe, without a shred of hesitation, to quit now while he's still ahead. The color drains from Joe's face as the principal goes on, explaining that the cost of developing an oracle is simply far too high. He insists Joe is just a broke kid who can't possibly survive here in the long run. In his head, he figures it's better to cut losses with weak students now, and he's even willing to return the tuition fee. Joe takes a few seconds to process this bombshell. Meanwhile, the demon's eye goes wide as he suddenly realizes the crystal is the object. He tells our hero to grab it. Joe quietly whispers to the cursed book to grab it himself, but the demon immediately reminds him that it needs someone else to act. Joe pauses, lost in thought, realizing that he absolutely has to get into the mid-city zone, which means he cannot afford to be expelled here. No matter what, he studies himself and recalls that not a single student from this academy has ever gone beyond E2 level, which is exactly why these students are considered so valuable. Our boy then asks the demon if he can decide the reward for this mission. At that moment, it clicks for the demon what Joe is planning, but before he can speak, Joe cuts him off and declares that he wants the borrow power skill. Goldfinger explodes, shouting at him, reminding him just how insane and dangerous that choice truly is. But our boy is locked in. He argues that if he ends up expelled, then the demon's wish may never come true. He demands that the cursed book trust him. Reluctantly, Goldfinger caves in and admits that whatever happens from here cannot be blamed on him. A glowing panel materializes in front of Joe, asking if he wants to use the borrow power skill. He accepts instantly, without a moment's hesitation. The principal then interrupts his thoughts, asking if he has any final words. He answers firmly that he wants the principal to assess his level again, and only then make a decision. The principal shakes his head at the seemingly hopeless request, but extends his hand anyway. On contact, he notes that Joe's strength is greater than what the record suggests, but still not nearly enough to stay. Closing his eyes, Joe realizes this is his last chance, and desperately tries to absorb as much star energy as possible. He then begins to emit pure aura, utterly shocking the principal. Even the demon is taken by surprise, since he never expected the kid's energy to surpass the power he lent him. The principal staggers back in shock, trying to process what just happened. It hits him. Joe somehow broke through and reached the 4th level, just now grinding his teeth. The man regains his composure and calls on our boy, telling him to participate in the upcoming school tournament. Joe blinks in surprise, trying to figure out why the headmaster's tone flips so suddenly. Once the dust settles, he pieces together that the guy probably wants to drag Our Lady school out of the trash and use him to show off in front of the education department. The principal admits that to make ends meet, he wanted to weed out the useless students, and then apologizes for catching Joe in this mess. As a reward, he grants him a full scholarship, plus 6 bottles of supplements each week. He lays it down straight, saying, our hero has to represent their school, because the entire future of the academy is riding on him. Realizing just how desperate the man is, our boy shoots his shot and asks if he can have the black crystal on the shelf. The principal explains, it's carved from black star crystal, originally brought back by the previous head, and it embodies the very spirit of the school. But he sighs, realizing if the school collapses, its symbol would mean absolutely nothing. So, with a heavy heart, he agrees to hand it over. Our hero responds with unwavering confidence, promising he'll pour his entire being into winning the tournament. The principal then smoothly shifts topics, asking how Joe managed to become so incredibly strong. Joe plays it off casually, claiming he was just hiding his strength the whole time. The headmaster nearly chokes on his own words, thinking that masking a level is the ultimate pro gamer move. He then swears he won't breathe a single word of it to anyone. And just then, a mysterious woman glides into the office, and the principal quickly instructs her to escort Joe to the elite class. A short while later, she explains that the entire 2nd floor is reserved exclusively for elites. Shifting the subject, she casually asks what kind of connection he has with the principal. But Joe brushes her off, revealing absolutely nothing. Right then, Coach Gigia comes storming in at full speed, apologizing profusely, saying he begged the headmaster to reconsider the decision. But it was no use. The female teacher cuts him short, clarifying that Joe isn't being expelled at all. He's actually being moved to the elite class. She adds that the principal is now looking for him, which makes the coach's face lose all color. Later that night, he drags himself back to his tiny, cramped apartment and crashes onto the bed. He mutters to himself, wondering how on earth a broke kid like him is supposed to reach level 4 in such a short window. The demon immediately cuts in, reminding him of the critical mission at hand. Goldfinger warns that his power won't trick humans forever, and he admits he already figured that much out. Still, he reasons he's got free supplements and dodged expulsion, so life isn't looking too bad right now. Looking at his phone, he realizes the real crisis is still the towering mountain of debt, and he needs to cook up a money-making plan fast. The next day at school, he looks more depressed than ever, looking around at the dusty, a seriously run-down area. He can't help but wonder what kind of dump he's just stumbled into. Out of the blue, a voice calls out his name. He spots a man waving from a distance, beckoning him with a huge, friendly smile. They immediately strike up a conversation, and the man apologizes for not tracking him down sooner, as he's always buried under a mountain of class duties. The man then introduces himself as Teacher Jang, and Joe, without hesitation, asks if he's actually the only teacher at this place. Teacher Jang scratches his head with a sheepish grin, admitting the school hasn't exactly been thriving lately, and he's the sole instructor for the advanced class. He further explains that they use the innermost section for intense training, explaining why the outer halls are just collecting dust. Pushing open a massive door, The teacher reassures Joe not to worry one bit, insisting the facilities are still absolutely top-notch. He even guarantees things won't ever be boring, while our hero just stares in utter awe. The interior doesn't match the rundown exterior at all. Instead, it's a world-class gym. Teacher Jang then explains that all the students are engaged in self-training and offers to introduce Joe to everyone. Joe thinks the place looks like a luxurious 5-star fitness club, with students buzzing with boundless energy, though he notices a few throwing him suspicious side glances. Suddenly, his teacher calls everyone over to formally introduce the newcomer. Joe bows politely, greeting them with respect, but a cocky, red-haired guy at the back instantly starts causing trouble, crossing his arms with a mocking smirk. He mocks Joe, telling him to drop the act and admit he used dirty connections to get in. Teacher Jang snaps, shouting at Wenhao to behave himself and explaining that Joe transferred here purely based on skill, but the guy isn't buying it. He narrows his eyes, a predator's gaze, spotting easy prey, and boldly challenges Joe to a fight. Suddenly, the other students instantly light up, thrilled to see a duel for the first time in ages, and quickly starts spreading rumors. A blonde student at the back asks, "What's going on?" And a pink-haired girl explains that a fight is about to break out. That instantly sparks the blonde's interest. He quickly presses for more details about this new transfer student. Back with our hero, the teacher urges him to refuse the challenge, but Joe accepts without hesitation. He calmly states he's fine with the match, as long as lethal force is strictly forbidden. Over in the school office, the principal is absolutely fuming, demanding to know if the new kid is already stirring up trouble. On a call, the teacher explains that our boy accepted Wenhao's challenge. Back to the action, neither side backs down as they face each other with a palpable, intense aura. The principal finds it a bit odd, but figures the kid simply wants to test his current level, so he grants permission for the duel to take place. Later, in the arena, the two students stand ready behind separate desks as the teacher reviews the rules. First, absolutely no outside interference. And secondly, both fighters must compete at the same star level. Wenhao struggles to believe that Joe is truly also an E-rank oracle. Their teacher then concludes the instructions, strongly reminding them that striking vital points is absolutely forbidden. The two opponents begin circling each other, while the teacher reminds them that lethal force is strictly prohibited under any circumstances. He continues, adding that the loser cannot retaliate. Afterward, no matter the outcome, a clean strike to the face or a surrender will end the duel instantly. With a single wave, their teacher signals the start, hoping to finish this quickly. Wenhao charges forward, aiming straight for his neck. Joe doesn't even flinch, instead catching his arm, throwing him off completely. The redhead instantly swings again, realizing this guy might actually be the real deal. Wenhao unleashes a barrage of relentless strikes, but Joe slips past each one with calm, collected precision. Clearly frustrated, Wenhao suddenly shifts gears and attempts a kick. The leg twists mid-air, and the redhead unleashes his signature move, a wind hook kick, which Joe manages to block with his arm. Though the redhead grins, already assuming the match is decided. But from that very position, he surprises him with a sharp kick, aimed straight at Wenhao's neck. The redhead tries to recover, left questioning how the heck this guy even knows martial arts. Catching himself just before falling, Wenhao thinks the only thing that matters now is guarding his face at all costs. But just as he turns back around, Joe calmly taps him on the nose with a closed fist. With a smirk, he asks if that means victory, leaving Wenhao absolutely frozen in disbelief. The arena goes silent for a bit, until Teacher Zhang officially declares Joe the winner. Wenhao just could not believe he actually lost to someone, and everyone else is surprised by the shocking outcome of the match. They think our boy is just too strong. Meanwhile, he thinks the match ended far too quickly, but still, he managed to learn something from it. He then asked Wenhao if he has any complaints now. Watching the match, the coach cannot believe his eyes, because Wenhao is an elite fighter who's had professional training, but he still lost to a guy who only just got promoted into the elite class. He thinks our boy has exceptional hidden talent. And this is the reason the principal told him to give the kid special treatment. Suddenly, the principal appears and congratulates our boy, telling him to follow, because he wants to talk about something important. The pink-haired girl is astonished to see this, while the yellow-haired guy says that they definitely need a guy like him in their strong crew. The principal asks our boy if he likes the elite class, and he replies that, other than the students being overly enthusiastic, it's nothing really special. The principal says that he'll get used to it, because the strong always attract attention. He also advises him to focus on his training, and the school will do everything it can to help him. Hearing this, our boy now believes the principal trusts him, so he decides to ask if he knows any ways for students to make money quickly. But the principal tells him to focus on training instead, so he can earn a larger amount of money. In the long run, the school can also help financially if his family is going through a rough patch. Our boy tells him it's nothing like that, and realizes he has to find another way. Later, while training in the gym, he reminds himself to be careful, because the school has very strict policies against student loans. He wonders how he can make some extra cash. But suddenly, a yellow-haired guy appears in front of him and compliments him on his match. He then asks our boy who he is, and our boy asks the same question right back. Meanwhile, the girl tells Shun he's being rude and apologizes to our boy, saying Shun can be a little annoying. She introduces herself as Sue, and the pain in her side is Shun. She tells him they're both his seniors and can help him if he's confused about anything. The annoying guy then declares they're a team from now on, and he's the team leader, so he'll personally take good care of him. He then asks our boy about the combat technique he used against Wenhao, but our hero says he doesn't know anything about such techniques at all. The leader's shocked when our boy tells him the move he used was only just a reflex. He says Wenhao will be furious when he finds this out. Sue quickly jumps in, saying she'll explain it. She explains that combat techniques are special, super moves, learned from scrolls or memory stones. The more mastery one has over them, the stronger they become. They have many different types, and strong fighters combine these techniques into their fighting styles. Shun then tells him that Wenhao used a D-rank combat technique in their match, one known as the hook wind kick. Hearing this, our boy realizes that must be the reason he can block that kick properly. He figures he'll have a much greater chance of winning if he can acquire a technique like that. He asks if they're rare, and the leader explains their rarity depends entirely on their rank. The school teaches the basic ones, but powerful techniques can only be learned under two conditions. You either buy them, or someone shares theirs with you. But they are really expensive. In today's market, even a basic D-rank technique can cost around 500,000. Both of them, showing off, tell him they've actually got a combat technique, and they can show him if he wants a peek. Joe thinks these two must be absolutely loaded, because such a huge amount means nothing to them. Suddenly it strikes him that he can ask them about different ways he can make some quick cash. He asks them if there's a fast way for him to earn money, but make sure to add he doesn't want anything illegal, like robbing a bank. Shin tells him his only option is the Blackwater district, but Sue quickly tells him not to utter such nonsense. He then says he's heard anything can happen there, but the school strictly forbids students from entering that district. After that, the leader asks our boy how much money he needs for the technique, and he says around 300,000. Both of them immediately check their accounts, but they are completely broke. Meanwhile, our boy thinks he'll check out the Blackwater district after school anyway, because he really needs the money right now. He reaches the district using the maps and realizes it's surprisingly close to his home. No one can possibly think he's a student, since he's not wearing his uniform anymore. He even asks the boss what he thinks about the district, but he doesn't get a single reply. According to what he's heard, the outer zones are devoid of any truly strong fighters, and his power level clocks in at a level 4 oracle, so he's confident he can easily handle anyone should the situation take an unexpected turn for the worse. He's confident he can at least make a safe escape. taking a much closer look around. He's convinced this entire area has been abandoned, and he can't help but wonder if this is truly the miracle zone. But he still spots faint, almost faded footprints nearby, leading him toward a hidden, secret pathway. He then finally reaches the notorious miracle zone, after carefully navigating the treacherous pathway. Inside the miracle zone, our boy sees the squalid surroundings, and all the shady, underhanded dealings. He understands why no one ever talks about this place, because it's completely lawless, and literally anything can be done to her profit. After taking in all these sights, a glimmer of hope suddenly sparks within him, that he might actually make enough to pay off his crushing debt. Suddenly, he directly asks the goons who've been stalking him, "How much longer are you planning to follow me?" One of the goons compliments him on his sharp instincts, admitting he was planning to strike, when he was completely caught off guard and careless. But now, the situation has dramatically changed, and I'm going to beat you down right here, in front of everyone. He scoffs, claiming he's seen plenty of boys like him before, the arrogant, rich children, who come to the Blackwater district in flimsy disguises, only to become easy prey for them. Joe internally thinks this goon is some kind of idiot, especially since he himself is completely broke. The goon then declares he's an oracle, so any attempt to escape will be utterly useless. He then tells him, "If you want to live, then you should just follow my orders and empty your pockets." Hearing this, our boy deadpants, "You sure are really rude," and in a flash, with a single strike, he suddenly knocks the leader out cold. The other two goons get enraged that he knocked their leader out, thinking he wasn't being careful. So both of them dash straight towards him, blades out, ready to shank him. But suddenly wooden crates come crashing down on both of them, and a mysterious girl quickly grabs our boy's hand, barking an order for him to come with her. Both of them immediately flee from the scene, reaching a hidden, seemingly safe place. Joe quickly thanks her for her timely help. But for him, it's just a major nuisance, because after easily dispatching the two goons, he was planning to interrogate them. The girl acts like she already knows our guy, asking him what he's even doing here. After saying that, she suddenly panics, remembering she needs to lay low. He questions if he actually knows her, but she quickly changes the topic by claiming she just read his name on his collar. Noticing the name tag, he immediately rips it off. He thinks it's a good thing the girl doesn't truly know him, because he never realized his name had been right there on his collar all along. He thanks her for pointing it out, while she's just glad she didn't accidentally reveal her true identity. She advises him to hide his info properly, because this area is seriously dangerous. Then she says she'll get him out of here. But our boy refuses her offer, because he's here to make some serious cash. He decides he should walk away, because if she finds out he's a student, then he'll be in deep trouble. As Joe leaves, she thinks she definitely knows who he is, and wonders what a student is even doing in the miracle zone. When she touched him, she got a strange feeling, which makes her think he has already become an oracle. Meanwhile, our boy buys a mask to cover his face, so his identity doesn't get leaked. While he's thinking that, he hasn't found any way to make money. A stranger approaches him and tells him he's the local tour guide, ready to answer all his questions. Hearing that, our boy is intrigued and asks if he knows about a place where he can make some quick cash. The guide is absolutely thrilled, thinking he's just increased the head count by 1. He proudly tells our boy to follow him. He takes Joe to a fighting arena, where Joe asks if this is an underground fight club. The guide confirms he's exactly right. He realizes this is the quickest way to make some serious cash. The guide explains that today, the victor will claim the prize money, along with a significant portion of the total. Place bets. He mentions that even oracles enter these brawls, meaning these matches are high risk, an incredibly high reward. After observing the current fight, our boy feels he definitely has a shot at winning it all. The guide asks if our protagonist wants to participate, offering to get him some betting chips. Our boy confidently states he'll take his chances at that prize money no matter what. Hot on his heels, the mysterious girl also enters the fight club and immediately begins searching for him. Suddenly, she spots our boy standing right in the ring, wondering what on earth he's doing there. A cocky, arrogant fighter, bragging about being a seated fighter to Joe, gets one shot by our boy. The crowd, however, finds this incredibly boring, as every single fighter is being knocked out with just one punch. Our boy decides he needs to finish this as quickly as possible. He swiftly dispatches the next two challengers as well. After witnessing these fights, the club boss is utterly baffled, having only allowed him to fight because he seemed so weak. His lackey informs him that, after watching all these one-sided bouts, every fighter has forfeited, and customers are demanding refunds, believing the matches are completely rigged. The boss immediately orders his subordinates to arrange a special match, declaring he won't let our boy walk away with all that prize money. Meanwhile, our boy defeats his final opponent, then asks if he can finally claim his prize. The announcer declares the crowd is absolutely hyped up by these incredible matches, so they've arranged a special challenge. Our boy immediately realizes they never intended to hand over the cash prize. Meanwhile, lackeys will out a trolley with a monstrous creature shackled to it. The announcer proclaims this special match will be against a Niffle, also known as the Freak, and just seeing him, Joe is genuinely taken aback. The NPCs quickly unbuckle him from the trolley, and the Freak collapses to the ground like a lifeless sack. They immediately scramble out of the ring and lock it down tight. Our boy just stands there, trying to process what's happening. Suddenly, the Freak jolts awake, revealing a truly menacing glare. A bulky man in the crowd tries to reassure his girlfriend by boasting that he could easily take down this monster with a single punch. But in reality, he nearly wet his pants. After witnessing this beast, the mysterious girl ponders how such a creature could possibly exist here. She knows Joe can't possibly handle this alone, and she could save him with her abilities. But then her cover would be blown and her plans exposed. Meanwhile, our boy grimly realizes that it's a shame the boss isn't around right now, and he's definitely going to struggle to defeat this monster. As he locks eyes with it, he feels like prey and the monster, the predator. His sixth sense is blaring at him to flee, because this creature is extremely dangerous. The Freak lunges at our boy, aiming a lethal strike, but our boy relies on pure instinct to dodge the attack, and he would have been history otherwise. Following this close call, he resolves to get serious if he wants to survive. The monster then corners him, and seeing this, Joe decides to finish this as soon as possible. He taps into his reserves to boost his power and punches the Freak, slamming him into the ground. The monster lies still, and he thinks the fight is over. But it suddenly lunges again, which he barely evades. He's astonished that his strongest attack had no effect, and he quickly retreats, because he knows he can't defeat it in close quarters. Dashing around the arena, our boy expertly evades its attacks, and searching for a weapon he can use to defeat the monster. He then breaks off the Freak's claw and wields it like a dagger to swiftly slash the monster's neck. The cut isn't deep enough for a killing blow, but now our boy can finally fight back. He knows he's way stronger than this monster. One more close-up hit is all he needs to finish it. With that resolve, Joe dashes forward, but the monster unleashes a mysterious gas, which surprisingly is just steam. The monster uses this thick fog as a diversion, striking our hero from all sides. He can't see a single thing within the swirling mist, and the Freak is seizing this chance to pummel him, fearing our hero will end it all the moment it makes a single move. Our boy knows he absolutely can't allow this to continue, or he'll be killed. If time runs out, he decides to fully unleash all his senses, to pinpoint its location and finally end it. He concentrates intensely, immediately locking onto the monster's precise location. After that, he seizes its hand and severs it clean off. This is the critical chance our hero desperately needed to land the final blow, and he dives straight for it. But alas, time is up, and his heart begins to ache. Meanwhile, the monster capitalizes on this moment to disarm him, lashing out with its tongue for a lethal blow. Our boy still hasn't given up hope. He decides to push far beyond his limits. He again borrows strength, grabbing the monster by its tongue. Then, he He swings it into the air, clamping onto both its jaws. He unleashes every ounce of power to rip the monster open and finally obliterate it. Meanwhile, the officials watching through the cameras are utterly bewildered by what they're seeing. The boss nervously asks if the new kid has finally gone down, but his face quickly pales. Inside the arena, the white-haired girl stares wide-eyed at Joe, wondering how he even pulled that off, still gripping the monster's severed head. He glares straight into the camera, and that chilling death stare alone makes the officials break into a cold sweat. The boss begins to panic, cursing that he spent a fortune bringing in that fighter, only for this boy to crush it like it was nothing. The announcer scrambles to recover, congratulating Joe and telling him to follow the staff to collect his reward sometime later. Backstage, a briefcase packed with cash sits in front of him. The official explains that it totals around $500,000. He reaches out to grab it, but the boss suddenly slams it shut. With a shady grin, he declares the deal has changed, that either Joe becomes a permanent fighter and gets the full amount, or he walks away with only a quarter. My guy narrows his eyes and demands that he repeat that. The boss snaps, yelling that all the other contestants ran away after that fight, and his prized warriors suffered from sudden head loss, disease. Our boy fires back that this wasn't their original deal. He reminds him the terms said that the fighters aren't liable if their opponent dies in the ring, asking again if that wasn't the agreed condition. Joe's aura alone drains the color from the man's face, giving off murderous vibes. He demands the full payment, or else there will be consequences. After hearing that, the boss whips out a gun to threaten him, but he doesn't even blink. In one motion, our hero dismantles the weapon and snaps the thug's finger, screaming in pain. The boss orders his men to fill the kid with bullets. His lackeys instantly draw their guns. Ready to fire, he just sighs in annoyance, visibly getting more irritated by the second. Outside, the white-haired girl tenses up as sudden gunfire erupts a moment later. A man is hurled through the window, flying like an empty soda can, staring at the unconscious bodyguard on the ground. The crowd wonders if some kind of movie is being filmed. White-haired girl, however, suspects this chaos is all the handiwork of Joe. Meanwhile, our hero is tearing through the bodyguards, without a second thought, unfazed by the fact that they have guns. A bald thug raises his gun to fire, but he slams his head straight through the wall instead. Bursting outside, he bolts, cash clutched tight in his hand. Meanwhile, the thugs upstairs bellow orders to capture him. As he sprints through the chaotic streets, he realizes he's rapidly hitting his absolute limit, his body agonizingly slowing down. His injuries are also relentlessly draining his remaining strength. Suddenly, a hand violently snatches onto his hoodie, yanking him hard into a narrow, hidden alleyway. It's the same mysterious girl from earlier, who quickly clamps a hand over his mouth, just as the thugs rush past, completely oblivious. Once the coast clears, she assures him he's safe, and Joe finally recognizes her face from their previous encounter. She instructs him sternly to conserve his strength, revealing she knows of a hidden escape route. Guiding him swiftly towards a discreet tunnel, she warns that if he doesn't move immediately, the thugs will seal off the entire district, ensuring his capture. He tries to respond, but she cuts him off sharply, telling him to get moving, with no other viable choice. He quickly thanks her and darts off into the dark tunnel. After he's vanished, she taps on her discreet communicator. On the other end of the line, an infuriated voice demands to know where she disappeared. She casually brushes it off, telling her sister to shut up and put their grandfather on the line because she's found something significant to report. The scene then dramatically shifts back to Joe, who barely manages to stumble into his apartment before utterly collapsing onto the cold floor. Gasping desperately for air, he clutches his chest, fighting with all his might to stay awake. But the moment his body burns through the very last of its strength, our boy finally goes down, unconscious on the ground. He drifts into a vivid dream where his mother tearfully apologizes for lying about getting better, about recovering. The truth, however, is much, much harsher. She only has a few precious years left, at most. She tells her beloved son She wanted nothing more than to see him grow up, to meet his future children someday, to just spend a little more time together. Our hero's mom apologizes once more for not having the strength to stay by his side, and she lovingly tells him she loves him more than anything in this entire world. Tears stream uncontrollably down his face as our hero is brutally yanked back into harsh reality. His eyes snap open, but he quickly steadies himself and gazes at the sunny sky outside his window. Sitting up, he realizes he's still inside Joe Chen's house. Relief washes over him that he's still alive, even though it was that childhood nightmare that woke him. Then, a voice rings inside his head, asking if he's finally awake. Caught off guard, he then asks the demon where it's been these past few days. But the cursed book mutters some vague excuse about business. Instead, it flips the question back, asking what he did to end up unconscious for 2 whole days straight. Before he can reply, the demon quickly pieces it together. He snuck into the underground arena, burned too much energy, and went toe-to-toe with a monster. Goldfinger explodes, shouting at him for pulling such a reckless stunt. He tries to shrug it off, but the demon keeps at it, warning that his power isn't enough to bring him back. A second time, it presses him to value his life more, since this is his second shot after all, and he can't waste it. That actually makes Joe smile, and he thanks the demon for watching his back. Goldfinger relaxes a bit, then admits the monster he fought doesn't sound like it came from this world. That thought makes our boy recall the mysterious girl he met in that cursed place. But he pushes it aside because right now, leveling up is what truly matters. Just then, he remembers his reward from last night, and he immediately snaps open the briefcase to reveal those stacks of crisp bills. The demon mocks him for risking his neck over mere money, but he replies that, at least for now, he doesn't have to worry about his debts until after the tournament. Looking down at himself, he says that he has to patch up this injury before heading back to school. Rubbing his head, he groans about how he still has to hit the hospital, the bank, and classes, all in the same day. At the hospital, the doctor checks him over and says the wound will heal quickly, as long as he keeps it clean. Noticing the incredible speed of recovery, the man asks if our boy happens to be an oracle. He immediately agrees, no questions asked. The doctor quickly changes his tune and tries to upsell him on a membership plan. Joe shuts him down instantly, insisting on just the regular medicine. Feeling a wave of relief that the monster's tongue wasn't actually poisonous, he watches as the doctor hands him some ointment. But the moment he takes the bottle, he freezes, staring in utter disbelief. He asks the doctor why the bottle is glowing, but the doctor just gives him a strange look, insisting it's just an ordinary container. Our guy doesn't buy for a second, clearly seeing it shine right there in his hand. The doctor tries to push the membership deal once more, claiming that the counseling sessions would help with his stress-induced hallucinations. But Joe ignores the shrink. Out in the corridor, Joe notices a strange flow of energy everywhere. Holding out his hand, he sees it glowing even brighter and realizes it must be tied to star energy. Remembering the underground fight, he suspects that battle triggered some kind of awakening. He then smiles broadly, thinking that if he can truly sense star energy now, he can absorb it much more efficiently. Just then, a man walks past, radiating a bright green aura, and Joe forces himself to act totally normal. After the guy passes, he sneaks another look and breaks into a cold sweat, thinking this man's star energy is on a whole other level. The green-haired stranger pauses, sensing something, and wonders if he just got scanned, but then shakes it off. On his communicator, a voice starts blasting at him, demanding he track down the alien star. Immediately, the green-haired man tells the voice to calm down, since he plans to stick around the country for a while. The voice pushes back, reminding him that the boss's prophecy marked the alien star as a boss-tier threat, one that needs constant monitoring. Sliding off his sunglasses, the green-haired man smirks and says, "The boss worries too much." He boldly declares that if the alien star truly proves to be their enemy, he'll crush them without a moment's hesitation. The very next day at school, the principal begins to sternly scold our boy for skipping both his classes. and ignoring his calls. He apologizes, explaining he got caught up in some personal matters. The principal's tone softens, showing more genuine concern than anger. But our hero reassures him, and the principal asks if this is about the upcoming tournament. The old man shakes his head, explaining he has full confidence in him for the tournament. Instead, he asks if the school can offer him support. If he's truly in trouble, he reminds our boy that the school's top priority is to fully support elite oracles. Joe smiles and tells him not to worry, promising to give his absolute all in the tournament, which finally puts the principal at ease. A little later, Shun and Sue rush over to catch up with him, asking what exactly went down. Shun remembers our boy mentioning a combat technique earlier, and then digs through his pockets, pulling out a credit card. He explains that they managed to pool together $300,000 for him, which he can always pay back later. Hearing that, he freezes in surprise, after realizing just how seriously the two had taken his words. He thanks them but admits he's changed his mind about getting that technique. Just then, Wen Hao appears, looking unusually shy, and offers $50,000 as an apology for his earlier behavior. Our hero thanks him for the thought, while Sue starts interrogating the redhead, asking if he has some shady ulterior motive. Wen Hao admits he only wanted to make up for calling Joe a fraud, and now hopes they can be friends. Sue leans in and whispers to him, asking if they should let the guy join, and he shrugs, saying he doesn't mind. Sue then turns to Wen Hao and asks if he's fine being the fourth member, and he replies that ranking doesn't matter to him. John immediately starts throwing his weight around, ordering him to fetch a water bottle. This instantly ignites a fiery argument between the two. Joe just smiles, realizing he's finally found some true friends. The scene then quickly fast-forwards to him, sweating it out on a treadmill, remembering that oracles absorb much more energy during intense physical training. However, the absorption rate proves to be agonizingly slow, even with all his training gear strapped on. Most of the energy still just leaks away. Joe figures this has to be the reason why so many people never move past level 1, and tells himself he needs a better method, fast. That's when Shun steps in, proposing a duel match, claiming it'll work far better than boring solo training. It suddenly clicks for our hero that Shun might actually be onto something. He did awaken his new ability during that last fight, after all. With that thought, he orders Shun to gather everyone. Moments later, Shun and Sue launch a fierce combined attack against him. He fends them off, feeling satisfied with the results, before telling the two to finally rest. He points out they've already been at it for over an hour, while Shun and Sue gasp for air. Sue admits she thought he was totally joking when he mentioned a one-on-two spar, and Shun adds, this training method is insanely effective. He then looks over at Wen Hao, saying it's his turn now, and the redhead smirks, more than ready to dive in. Watching the group, Joe concludes the theory is correct, since everyone's absorption rate is soaring, and they'll be leveling up faster than ever before. As for himself, with his naturally high absorption rate, he can push this experiment even further. In this world, supplements are heavily diluted to keep people safe, but even then, people with poor absorption barely benefit from using them at all. By contrast, his borrow power skill is a whopping 100 times more concentrated than any supplement, and if he absorbs it recklessly, his body would literally explode. But if he could control the flow and take it in slowly, then leveling up at an insane speed might actually be possible. With that gamble in mind, Joe activates the skill, immediately unleashing heavy waves of powerful aura. The raw force of the energy completely catches him off guard, but it makes sense considering this ability lets him boost 2 levels in a single shot. Tensing himself, he forces the energy into a thin, controlled stream and begins absorbing it. His body locks up under the immense strain, every muscle screaming from the overwhelming pressure, focusing all his willpower. Joe notes how quickly the energy fills him up, faster than anything he's ever felt before. Then panic hits, and his body feels like it's about to burst apart. Seeing no other choice, He points his hand upward and unleashes the overflow. Energy blasts out in powerful waves, forcing his friends to shield themselves from the crushing pressure. They can't believe what they're witnessing, uttering in shock over how Joe suddenly became so overpowered. That's when Goldfinger appears, drawn by the sheer disturbance. The demon freezes at the sight before him. Joe, drenched in sweat, calmly tells him he managed to absorb the power. The demon can hardly believe the boy pulled it off, and then wonders aloud if Joe really is his long-awaited soulmate. He asks the boss if he said something, but the boss quickly changes the topic by saying he's just happy. Our boy isn't dead after all that commotion. The coach comes running, asking what happened, and Sue tells him that Joe is the one who released all that energy. The coach is surprised to see the immense amount of star energy and immediately tells the assistants to bring the measurement device. After measuring our hero's power, they discover that he has already become a level 3 oracle. At first, the coach cannot believe his eyes, but then he rushes toward the principal's office to tell him about this amazing news. He's the first level 3 oracle the school has seen in a very long time. Meanwhile, Sue asks him how he could level up so quickly and asks him to teach her the method. He tells her it's simply because of all the training he's been doing. He decides that next time, he'll handle this in private to avoid any unnecessary trouble. Hearing this, all three of them get pumped, ramping up the intensity of their training. Meanwhile, our boy asks the boss why he wasn't mad at him this time. The boss replies that he's gotten used to it by now. Goldfinger can unleash all his powers if he just wants to level up fast, because he needs Joe to grow stronger. But Joe tells the demon not to worry. He's been stockpiling a mountain of star energy. Once he settles into this new strength, he's going to level up again. Just like that. The boss hears this and is completely speechless. Time flies, and the competition draws closer. Our hero trains like an absolute beast, until finally, the big day arrives. The whole squad is buzzing as they step into the venue. Sue gets super excited, because she can't believe she actually made it here, saying her mom would be so proud. Shin starts flexing some knowledge, pointing out that this year has the biggest crowd of participants so far. Wenhao cuts in and asks if he's ready for the level 4 bracket. Wenhao is salty that he didn't level up in time to join, but Joe just shrugs. The principal's words still echo in his head. Give it your absolute all, and if things get too messy, just forfeit. No shame in living to fight another day. And since the arenas for level 3 and 4 are split, the three of them part ways, leaving him to prep on his own. Meanwhile, the principal and coach roll into the VIP area, looking around like kids in a candy store. The coach chuckles, saying, this is the kind of luxury they've been waiting for, all thanks to their school. Finally, sending a fighter into the level 4 bracket. Today, suddenly, Principal Wong shows up and congratulates the principal on how they produced 2 top-tier students. In just a few months, the principal humbly states that it has nothing to do with him. It's all because of the students' hard work, as he only helped them meet their needs. He also thanks Wong for his help, because he provided him with all the key information about the competition after the Reformation. The government announced significant grants for the winning schools, and because of these grants, the tournament's difficulty will also skyrocket. Suddenly, a pompous guy says that a mere hillbilly has forced their way into the VIP lounge and is causing such a commotion. The principal wants to retort, but Wong stops him, saying not to mess with them, because they are all principals of schools who have previously won this competition. The principal says that's all in the past now, and no one truly knows who will win this competition. The white-haired guy tells who to enjoy this scene for the first and very last time, so he can remember it clearly. The coach asks the principal if the students will be all right because they are participating in such a high-stakes competition for the very first time, who then asks the coach what he thinks of his students. He answers that all of them are talented, and Joe is a true prodigy, far more talented than any genius. The principal tells him that they simply have to believe. Meanwhile, in the stands, The class is cheering enthusiastically for Joe, but she's worried about him, and she is truly nervous because it's her very first time here. At first, she couldn't believe our boy was participating in the competition, but now she's here, cheering him on. Just a week ago at school, she was thinking Joe had become the Academy's rising star. She couldn't meet him anymore, because now he wouldn't bother with anyone from the lower class. Lost in these thoughts, she's about to collapse to the floor, but our hero appears and catches her just in time. He asks if she's okay, and she thanks him. Then she asks, "What are you doing here?" He tells her he just happened to see her, so he came over to say hi. She admits she thought he was an elite now and would never meet with anyone from the lower class. He tells her, friends are forever, no matter what happens. They can't be changed. Hearing this, she feels incredibly happy and thinks Joe hasn't changed a bit. He can totally win the tournament for sure. Suddenly, the announcer declares that the contestants are making their way to the stage, and the class representative gets super excited after seeing our boy walk out with the others. The announcer then proudly welcomes everyone to this year's thrilling exchange competition, and this epic event will be hosted by him and his partner, Lillian. Hearing that name, the crowd goes absolutely wild, because she's one of the most famous idols in the entire country. The diva says she's here to work hard, and today she's just an ordinary announcer, because the true stars are the real stars of this competition. After that, the announcer lays out the rules. From 12 academies, there are 48 fierce contestants, 16 in the level 4 bracket, and the remaining 32 in the level 3 bracket. He clarifies that the main hall is for the level 4 bracket only, and the final rankings will be based on scores from both brackets, which will later be converted into points. The contestants will face each other one by one, and the winner will move on. They'll then face the winner of the other match, until only one fighter remains. The time limit for each match is 30 minutes, and a match ends when one contestant either surrenders or has no ability left to fight. Lillian chimes in that the rules for this year's tournament are much, much tougher, but there's no need to worry, as she tells everyone to look at the very top of the pillar. The crowd gets absolutely hyped when they spot the S-rank celebrity, Baiwa, casually seated in the hall. To flaunt his overwhelming power, he effortlessly rattles the floor with just a single finger. The announcer then explains that the master designed this special ring to shield the audience from any stray attacks. He can also instantly repair the ring right after each match concludes. He also instructs all contestants to wear their gems, as they serve as participant certification, and can even protect them in perilous situations. Everyone whispers about how an S rank is truly terrifying, and our boy thinks his power is almost on par with Gojo. This dude looks so incredibly carefree. Not even a hint of nervousness can be seen. The idol announces that results will appear on the gems, and she officially declares that the competition has now begun. The very first match concludes in a mere 17 minutes, with the victor being Xiaoran. The principal exclaims he can't believe in S-rank. Oracle is personally overseeing the tournament. This means this year's matches are going to be incredibly challenging. Principal Wong explains it's all due to the huge difference between level 4 and level 3, since level 4 Oracles already possess complete mastery over their fighting techniques. The famous schools are so ridiculously wealthy that buying C-rank techniques is practically an everyday routine for them. The only reason they're always able to win the tournament is because they use the grant money to equip their contestants with the best potions and fighting techniques. But this year, things are about to completely change. The fifth match is between Lan Qin and Lisa, and in it, Qin is utterly toying with her opponent by effortlessly dodging every single attack. Then she unleashes an ability-based fighting technique and expertly restrains her opponent before delivering the finishing blow and claiming victory in the match. The crowd goes absolutely wild watching this, and many people suspect she's secretly wielding some sort of magic, especially since the principal is utterly shocked, because this kind of ability is typically only achieved by a superior ranked oracle. Principal Wong, bursting with pride, declares she's a prodigy for obtaining this ability at such a young age. Principal AO counters that it doesn't matter, even if she possesses such an ability. But Wong taunts him, asking, "Why did you try so hard to recruit her?" If that's true, Principal Lee simply replies that it's just an early awakening, and nothing more. In the sixth match, Wong doesn't even let his opponent attack, ending the match in a mere 5 seconds. Witnessing that, the crowd is convinced the Blazing Oracle will most certainly win this year's tournament. As well, the other principal believes no one can compare to the student personally taught by Principal Lee. To show off, Lee quips that barking dogs don't bite, but Wong tells him to wait and watch instead. Who thinks that? This battle is completely out of their league. They're so low-ranked that even qualifying for this tournament is already a miracle. He'd be thrilled if Joe wins even one match, or at least puts on a good show. After the 7th match concludes, our hero is the next contestant. He wonders what kind of fighter his opponent will be. Goldfinger urges him to borrow his powers and finish the match quickly, but he counters that if he does that, he'll catch everyone's attention, and he could get into serious trouble if he's investigated. On his way to the ring, he meets Chin. She tells him that he's unlucky to be in a last match because his opponent is one of the strongest. His fighting technique is so powerful that not even a D-rank oracle can completely endure it. And our boy asks if it's not dangerous to use such a powerful technique in these low-ranked matches. Shin explains to him the gemstone can block one fatal attack, but he'll still take a massive hit. That's just the harsh truth of this competition. He then asks why she's even helping him, and she reveals they're allies now, because they share the same objective: to absolutely crush all the arrogant fools. Before she leaves, she admits she hoped he'd help her, but since his opponent is so incredibly powerful, it'd be great if he could at least wear him down a bit. Hearing that, he starts to wonder if his opponent is truly as strong as she claims. Finally, the last match of the first round is about to kick off. The crowd erupts as our boy steps into the ring, and he thinks it's a warm welcome. But in reality, those cheers are for contestant Lei, who makes an entrance like a total superstar. The announcer declares that no one anticipated Lei Che in this final match. He became an oracle at a mere 12 years old, and in just 4 years, he's already a level 4 oracle. He's also snagged a national certificate and even a guild invitation. It wouldn't be wrong to call him the ultimate fighter of this new era. As he enters the ring, the crowd goes absolutely wild, screaming his name. Class rep starts getting worried because no one is cheering for our boy. A random guy in the crowd tells her that Lei has so many fans because he's both strong and handsome. On the flip side, his opponent just looks like some random dude with a bad attitude. Hearing that, she retorts that she's supporting Joe because he's a genuinely kind and gentle boy. After that, the two start bickering, and everyone nearby wonders, what on earth is happening? Everyone is hyped to see how this genius will perform in the match, and if he can even beat the undefeated Liangguang Academy contender. The announcer declares the match will begin now, but Lillian cuts him off, asking him if he forgot to introduce one of the fighters. He quickly apologizes, admitting he completely forgot, in all the excitement after all. Then, he introduces Joe, a rising star from Lady Oracle Academy, noting that this is the Academy's very first time taking part in the competition. Other than that, he has nothing else notable to mention about him. This makes him wonder if the school should have at least gotten him a technique before the tournament even started. The crowd starts murmuring, speaking ill of him, and wondering how someone like him could ever put up a fight against a genius. The bandana guy bursts into laughter, loudly taunting the class rep. Meanwhile, Principal Wu tells the principal, it's quite unfortunate They have to face their academy's rising star in their very first year. They shouldn't worry, though, because it will all end quickly. Wong tells Wu that everyone has to start from somewhere, so he just needs to ignore him and stay calm. Inside the ring, Lei tells him he feels bad for him because in his very first tournament, he has to face him. But our boy tells him to pay close attention to the fight. Lei suddenly dashes towards our boy, reaching right by his side in an instant. He declares he'll start this match by only using 10% of his total power because even if he loses his first fight, he can still look at least a little bit decent. Our boy thinks he's acting all nice, but he's utterly annoyed since he already told him once to fight normally. Just then, the announcer exclaims that the genius cannot hold back his enthusiasm and announces that the final match of the first round now officially begins. With that, Lei uses his speed to attack our boy, and he's moving so fast that it looks like he used Shadow Clone Jutsu to make multiple copies of himself. On top of that, all of them attack at the exact same time. Every contestant watching freezes. He knows this will be an incredibly tough battle against the genius. Meanwhile, Principal Wu is certain nobody can ever defeat his prodigy. The genius assumes our boy is frozen because he can't even see him. He's convinced the only person who could ever challenge him is Wong. Believing this is the end, he prepares to land the finishing blow. But just as he closes in, Joe coolly asks if he's not going to dodge before savagely punching him right in the face. Witnessing this, everyone is utterly shocked. How could this happen? Our protagonist actually countered Lei's attack and landed a punch in an instant. The genius can usually dodge any attack with his incredible speed, but the burning question now is, was he just careless, or did he genuinely fail to dodge? The entire crowd starts to think our boy must have used some kind of hack, because no one else can ever even touch the genius. Noticing this, he wonders if he's broken some hidden rule, like who can land the first hit. Wong tells Principal Wu that his student clearly has some impressive skill. Principal Wu immediately retorts that he must be cheating because no one is faster than Lei. But Principal Lee replies that if they were cheating, the higher-ups would have already caught them by now. Principal Lee sternly tells him to shut up because he's setting a very bad example. With all his whining and yapping, he suggests they should quietly watch the match because it's not over yet. At that moment, Lei also calls out, insisting he's not done yet. He admits he didn't take Joe seriously before and now swears to go all out. Lightning coils violently around him as he charges another strike, shouting that his powers are barely under control. Lei continues to summon even more bolts, but our boy stands completely calm, not even blinking. He finds it almost amusing that Lei has this much star energy packed inside him. Suddenly, a flash of yellow lightning shoots past Joe, catching him completely by surprise. The guy deflects off the barrier and ricochets around the arena. Like a hyperactive pinball, he gains speed with every strike. The announcer shouts that Lei is about to unleash his trump card, while Lillian keeps adding useless filler. Lei grins, convinced he's already secured the win, and dives from above to deliver a supercharged kick. Our boy doesn't bother to dodge or defend. Instead, he calmly throws a single punch straight into Lei's face. The combined momentum of his charge sends Lei crashing uncontrollably across the arena floor. Joe calls out to him that he should have attacked earlier when he still had a shot at victory. The announcer then declares that Pikachu is down again. This time, the stone shifts red, confirming that the Pokemon is unable to battle. While the announcer celebrates Joe's victory, he wonders briefly if Lei will be alright, though the stone should have prevented anything fatal. The crowd erupts, stunned by how fast the match ended. With Lei defeated, Shin enters for the second quarterfinal match and secures the win without breaking a sweat. Next is Wong, who crushes his opponent easily, without breaking a sweat. The crowd finds the beast's strength unstoppable, yet most eyes drift back to Joe. The messy-haired kid then gives them a death stare. That makes the whole section freeze with fear. In the fourth match, Ran, from another Oracle school, faces our boy and puts up a fierce fight. However, Joe dodges every strike with veteran-like precision. He ends the fight with a light punch to Rant's head, sending him crashing to the ground. Watching from above, the officials comment that our boy has yet to use any combat technique, relying only on raw energy control. One of them wonders if he may be hiding his true level, or worse, using drugs, which would be a serious violation of the tournament rules. Back in the arena, the announcer starts hyping the semifinals. Joe's called up against another fighter, Lou. He freezes mid-sentence as serious officials in dark suits stride onto the stage. The audience whispers, utterly confused, wondering just who these mystery people are. An inspector orders our hero to put on some special equipment and release his star energy for a scan. The crowd realizes these are tournament inspectors, and they begin buzzing with anticipation. They suspect Joe's being accused of cheating. Our boy starts sweating bullets, realizing he might have pushed his limits a little too far. He makes a mental note to rein in his powers next time. The inspectors read the scan results, which declare his readings stable and perfectly within limits. They then announce to the stunned crowd that the contestant is absolutely not cheating. They step away, allowing the show to continue. And the announcer then shouts in pure disbelief that our hero is officially confirmed as level 4. The semifinal is cleared to begin. The crowd processes this bombshell for a moment and then goes absolutely wild, screaming that our hero is legit. Across the stage, Lou starts to shake uncontrollably, his face paling as the terrifying realization hits him. The match begins, and it ends instantly. Joe knocks him out cold with one devastating, decisive strike. The announcer nearly loses his voice, screaming at the top of his lungs into the mic, while Lillian continues her endless, useless filler-up in the commentary box. In the stands, Principal Wong turns to our principal, praising him for producing such a monster of a student. Our principal smugly accepts all the glowing remarks, and the other principals who once mocked him now rush over, eager to sing his praises too. He smiles politely, trying to appear modest, though all the sudden attention makes him a tad uncomfortable. On the other side of the stands, Lee and you watch with clear annoyance, irritated by the sudden swarm of bootlickers. Our principal allows himself a proud, knowing smile, thinking Joe truly kept his promise and heroically upheld their school's honor. Back on the arena floor, the last semifinal is called. Shin walks onto the stage with tense determination. Across from her, Wong steps forward, his eyes gleaming with a predator's hunger, as if he's just spotted his next unsuspecting prey. Chin's juniors roar encouragement from the stands, momentarily distracting the beast for a split second. Spotting an opening in his guard, she surges forward, powering up her strike with a flowing cloud hand. She slams the devastating blow right into his chest. Yet, Wong doesn't even budge. He merely looks mildly annoyed, then glares her down. Her confidence crumbles as panic begins to set in, realizing the hit barely even scratched him. Wong effortlessly clamps down on her wrist, asking if she honestly believes she's talented. Chin snaps back, telling him to get lost, and drives her elbow straight into his face. He doesn't even flinch, declaring that he finds this entire situation hilarious. Desperation fuels her very next move, as she charges up another powerful blast and binds him tightly with her potent magic until he's wrapped up like a mummy. She then unleashes a barrage of wind-style kicks, pounding his bound body with relentless strikes. For a brief moment, she finally relaxes, convinced that all her blows successfully landed and surely must have inflicted some damage. But that hope shatters instantly, as Wong suddenly appears behind her like a ghost, draining all the color from her face. She tries to turn around, utterly aghast, wondering how he could have moved so fast. But it's already far too late. He drives his fist into her, unleashing his blood rage arts, sending her hurtling into the barrier, which cracks open, sending shards scattering. Chin collapses to her knees, gasping for air, while the announcer declares that Wong now holds the undisputed upper hand. Her juniors tearfully turn their eyes away, as they can't bear to watch her get absolutely decimated. Principal Wong grinds his fists together, silently begging his star student to push through. Chin remains motionless on the ground. As she stares intently at the red tag beside her, her voice trembles as she whispers that she absolutely can't afford to lose sight of that red tag. The scene then pulls her into a vivid school flashback, where she walked into a room, buzzing with a crowd of worried students. One girl, openly crying, told her that if the academy shut down, she'd be forced to drop out, despite her lifelong dream of becoming an oracle. She then wraps her arms around the two girls in a reassuring hug, promising to never let that happen. Back then, Chin swore she'd win the tournament, to bring the academy the funds to keep its doors open. Though the black-haired girl still looked unconvinced, Chin insisted she had never gone back on her word. The girl then rummaged through her pocket and pulled out a small, red charm, handmade for luck. That moment warmed Chin's heart, and she promised to fight with everything she had. Back in the present, she reaches toward the charm, whispering again that she made a promise. But Wong doesn't care. He stomps on the good luck charm without a shred of remorse. Mocking, "Is this all you amount to?" He then brutally kicks her, his hands still buried deep in his pockets. Her crystal turns a violent red, and she falls unconscious. But Wong just keeps on taunting her. The announcer yells that the fight is clearly over, yet the beast raises his foot again. Ready to crush her, the crowd starts panicking, and the announcer screams for someone to stop him. Spectators stare in utter horror, wondering what this monster plans to do. Principal Wong's voice cracks as he desperately begs for someone to save his student. One official demands master by act, but the guy inexplicably remains calm, claiming the situation is under control. Meanwhile, Wong smashes his foot down with savage force, carving a massive crater into the arena floor. However, his eyes go wide as he realizes his target is gone. Our hero now stands there, Chin safe in his arms. Having saved her just in time, he calls the beast out, asking, "Is this the kind of bullying your school teaches?" Wong spins around, fury raging in his eyes, and screams out Joe's name. The announcer cries out in utter relief, declaring that our boy rescued Chin just in the nick of time. Principal Wong rushes forward to cradle his injured student, thanking the heavens for her survival. The crowd grows restless, unable to believe that the beast actually tried to end her life after she'd already lost. But Wong doesn't care and walks menacingly toward our hero. He boldly declares he'll eliminate anyone who dares block his path. That arrogance finally ignites a fire in Joe, and our boy returns a deadly gaze of his own. He dares the beast to take his best shot. The doctors on duty swiftly wheel the girl away, while the announcer urges the staff to quickly reset the arena for the next fight. Up in the stands, our boy's friends gather with the class rep. Shin asks how things look so far, and she replies that Joe has already made it to the finals, though she admits something feels off about the opponent. Our principal's friend warns our boy to be careful, and then shouts at our hero, "Don't underestimate who you're up against." Fired up, Joe assures him there's no need to worry. In the arena, Wong mocks our hero for actually thinking he stands a chance. But Joe fires back that the guy runs his mouth too much. He smirks and asks if the beast is really here to fight, or just keep yapping. As both sides square off, their auras flare wildly, turning it into an intense energy standoff. The announcer declares the match officially underway. Wong wastes no time, launching a sudden punch, but our hero tanks it like it's nothing. His body doesn't even budge. The beast smirks, taunting that he thought Joe would be tougher. But our boy instantly claps back, that he stole the words right out of his mouth, leaving the guys sweating buckets. Joe digs in harder, asking, "Is this really the level of someone who won the previous tournament?" He then goes in for a grab, but Wong barely manages to dodge. Wong activates his blood rage skill, charging up his fist, as the two of them start hammering away at each other. At full speed, neither willing to give an inch, the announcer shouts in disbelief that he has never seen a level 4 fighter brawl this ferociously before. Even Joe's classmates sit stunned, realizing that our boy has been holding back throughout all their previous sparring matches. Now back in the thick of it, Joe unleashes a devastating uppercut straight into Wong's jaw. His teacher and principal are utterly wide-eyed, barely believing their own student could be this strong. Blood sprays from Wong's mouth as he ponders how a titan like himself could be pushed onto the back foot like this. And that thought only ignites his fury further, propelling his abilities to new, dangerous heights. Goldfinger suddenly appears, revealing that this guy is actively forcing star energy into his own body to supercharge his strength. In the next instant, Wong vanishes in a blinding flash, but Joe perfectly keeps pace with his lightning movements. He immediately preps an elbow strike and silently ponders to himself. That mere speed is useless against his formidable perception skill. Meanwhile, back in the bustling control room, a concerned official nervously queries the master if they should intervene and check Wong's level, since it's escalating at an alarming, abnormal pace. Unfazed and calm as ever, he calmly explains that this is merely his family's blood, rage arts in action, pushing him up by one level, so it's not technically cheating. But then, he admits that the real mystery lies with our boy, who still hasn't shown his full power, and the master finds himself wondering just how far this kid can push himself. Back in the ring, the two fighters unleash a torrent of rapid punches, like two rabid fiends fighting over a single French fry. Joe's friends watch, nerves completely frayed. Chun shouts, convinced our hero is getting pushed back. The redhead swiftly corrects his misconception, explaining that Joe is actually deflecting the beast's savage punches flawlessly. Meanwhile, in the arena, our hero remains locked in, expertly dodging and weaving through blow after relentless blow, patiently looking for his perfect opening. Then, Joe finally retaliates with a devastating, crushing punch that forces the beast to block with absolutely everything he has. The sheer impact alone cracks the very floor beneath them and sends Wong skidding back ever so slightly. Our boy then slams in another heavy, bone-jarring shot, and Wong then growls that Joe is the very first fighter to ever push him this far. Now fueled by an explosive mix of pride and rage, he powers his blood arts up to an even greater, more dangerous degree. He roars, declaring himself still the strongest. Unfazed, our hero throws a taunt right back. "Is that truly all you've got?" he challenges. And then he activates his borrow power skill. His level immediately begins to skyrocket. The two powerhouses glare, squaring off once more. Their fists are practically vibrating with anticipation. Suddenly, Joe realizes something crucial. He can now perfectly read his opponent's attack patterns, all thanks to his honed perception skills. He also spots the beast's critical weak point, his heart. Without a moment's hesitation, our boy slams an elbow right into the beast's chest. The beast's eyes go wide, stunned by the impact. The powerful blow instantly knocks the wind out of him. But Joe is far from finished. He immediately unleashes a furious follow-up attack, driving Wong completely onto the defensive. The beast desperately blocks punch after brutal punch, each one delivering more crushing force than the last. He thinks in utter disbelief. Our hero's speed and power are still rapidly escalating. Refusing to accept defeat, Wong digs deep, pushing his blood arts past their absolute limits. Our boy then declares the fight is already over. His fist glows, charged with pure star energy. Wong lets out a guttural scream, "Die," and launches a massive punch of his own. Their fists collide, igniting a colossal explosion. It sends violent shockwaves ripping across the entire arena. Spectators instinctively throw up their arms, shielding themselves from the blinding, violent blast. The principal stares, absolutely transfixed by the battle, frantically demanding to know what just transpired. As the smoke slowly begins to clear, the announcer excitedly screams that Wong is still standing, but in the very next instant, the beast dramatically collapses, his crystal falling to the ground, and it's now stained a vivid red. The only one left standing is none other than our boy. With that, his school, Light of School, officially snatches first place in the level 4 category and claims the entire championship title. Joe's friends immediately erupt into wild celebration, yelling that they finally won the tournament. His teacher and the principal are also cheering him on, shouting that he's made their school incredibly proud. Tears stream down the principal's face as he tearfully declares, "We won't have to beg for money anymore." While his teacher just deadpants at his overly dramatic reaction. The very principals who mocked him earlier now rush forward, eager to congratulate him, shamelessly sucking up to save their own reputations. Meanwhile, Principal Wong is absolutely fuming at this humiliation. Even last year's runner-up principal is left utterly clueless on what to do next. Much to Principal Lee's utter surprise, his supposed ally completely abandons him and bolts away without even a backward glance. Master Bai decides to take his leave as well. Now that the tournament has wrapped up, the official thanks him sincerely for all his efforts. On his way out, Bai's eyes suddenly narrow when he spots two unfamiliar figures watching from the sidelines. He instantly wonders if they're here to scout out Joe. An old man murmurs to the girl next to him that he never expected such a backwater school to produce such a monster. He asks if she can bring our hero into their guild. The girl, Lin, admits they were childhood friends. But now, Joe doesn't even recognize her. Even so, she swears she'll use everything she has to recruit him. Back inside the arena, the winning team stands lined up proudly on stage. Cameras flash as the principal promotes his school, Liv milking the victory for all it's worth. Our hero smiles for the photos, while he thinks this feels harder than the actual fight. The next day, the principal pulls him aside and admits he owes him a massive favor for carrying them to victory. True to his word, he hands Joe the black crystal, which makes the demon super excited. Still, the principal warns him that major Oracle academies will come calling now, and reminds him not to forget where he came from. After their talk, our hero steps outside the office, only to immediately run into his friends. They greet him happily, papers clutched in their hands. Despite it being summer break, Shun throws an arm around him and explains that every top academy sent them admission letters early, and they've all been accepted. Our boy congratulates them one by one, but they insist the Real credit belongs to him. Shun then gets serious, boldly declaring that together they'll become the greatest team the future has ever seen. This leaves our hero looking a little confused. Sue quickly explains that even though they'll be attending different academies, they can still meet up and stick together. Joe just smirks, saying he's really looking forward to it, since he'd be bored out of his mind otherwise. As they walk, he adds that he'll definitely need their help when he has to train to become even stronger. Suddenly, another figure steps out from the corner, catching them all completely off guard. The class rep looks straight at them with fierce determination and asks if she can join their gang too. She wants to grow stronger right alongside them. The class rep gets starry-eyed when she finally steps into the elite classroom. She thanks our hero for his help, but he brushes it off, saying it was really the principal. Lou then also thanks the principal, who replies that he's always happy to help. He adds that he plans to make these incredible facilities available to everyone, with many more exciting changes coming in the future. After winning the competition, the principal finally has the funds to do what he wants, all thanks to his amazing students. He then praises everyone for their incredible efforts, while the gang jokes that all these changes are happening right after they leave. Sue asks the class rep why she's training so incredibly hard, even though it's vacation time and there's no competition coming up. She shares her backstory, admitting that she never thought she was any good, but she got totally fired up after seeing everyone work so hard. She continues that she wants to apply as a special cultural student, which still has a 1-month deadline, making the pink-haired girl cry. Zhu then grabs the class rep's hand and promises to help her in any way she can. Shin asks Joe what he plans to do, and if he's decided on a school yet. He reveals that he hasn't received a letter yet, which catches everyone completely off guard. They all got theirs instantly, from the 5 major academies. The principal dramatically clears his throat and summons our hero over, telling him he has something important to reveal. He then hands him a striking red envelope, explaining it just arrived moments ago. Shun heaves a sigh of relief, confidently declaring our boy couldn't possibly be duped. Joe meticulously reads the letter and announces aloud that it's from Dawn Academy. Everyone reels in shock at the name, and the blonde immediately yells out that it's the Academy, perched at the very top of the chain. Our boy prompts him for an explanation, so he launches into a dramatic story mode. He explains there are 5 formidable academies that stand as symbols of ultimate authority and immense strength. However, one academy reigns supreme above all others, the legendary Dawn Academy, which hold the absolute power to poach any student they desire. Joe then thoughtfully asks why there aren't 6 academies instead of merely 5. The principal cryptically replies that the true worth of that academy simply defies measurement, and all of them were specifically engineered to combat the rifts. He suddenly turns grave, as he reveals this information is strictly confidential, but decides to tell them despite its confidentiality. You see, the rift is essentially an alternate dimension, brimming with unbelievably overpowered monsters. If they ever manage to spill into the real world, absolute chaos will erupt. That's precisely why envoys are dispatched to eradicate these monstrous threats whenever such portals appear. While clearing a rift mission promises immense profit, the inherent danger is simply far too profound. The man then solemnly reveals he was once part of a rift clearing squad himself, but tragically, it only took the loss of a single, crucial member to plunge their entire team into an abyss of chaos, and it was ultimately tragically disbanded, while other academies, too, also mandate students to clear rifts. Dawn Academy is simply on another level, so he sternly warns him to consider his choice carefully. The principal kindly reassures Joe that other prestigious academies remain open for his enrollment, and that he shouldn't foolishly risk his precious life. However, our hero has already firmly made up his mind, and boldly declares he will join Dawn. The principal smiles knowingly, as if he'd always known the answer, and declares he'll definitely reach new heights. Shun slings an arm around him, stating they'll grow stronger together, making the rift a total piece of cake for them all. Blonde then notices the deadline is a mere 10 days away, while it normally lasts about half a year, making our hero seriously sweat. Our hero explains he needs time to prepare, and can't train the class rep himself, but the gang reassures him they'll manage just fine. Returning to his apartment, he starts making a meticulous list of everything. Just then, the demon book suddenly appears and makes the crystal float right in front of it, extending a shadowy arm. It touches the crystal and absorbs something vital from it. The black crystal then falls to the ground and shatters, making our hero nearly have a heart attack. Joe is heartbroken and whines that he wanted to exchange the crystal for a fortune. Goldfinger tells him to just let it go, since it's utterly useless now, and instead asks how the school visit went down. Joe reveals he got accepted into Dawn Academy, a perfect place to earn money and power up. The only problem is he'll have to raid rifts. The demon book reassures him that rifts are nothing to fear, since star energy itself originates from there. Our hero then quickly changes the topic and asks if there's any reward for him, since one of his big wishes has already been fulfilled. Goldfinger gets a bit miffed that he's being treated like some kind of wishing well, but reluctantly agrees to help out, since the rifts are tied to his own wishes anyway. He tells Joe to just endure it, and releases a surge of dark energy toward him. Our hero absorbs the potent dark aura, and the system informs him he's unlocked the incredible ability, divine creation. The power violently reshapes his entire body as he bravely bears through the immense pain and reaches level 6 once the grueling process completes. Our boy then asks, what just happened? The system explains that he now wields the power to create anything using his energy. Goldfinger reveals that the ability once belonged to his old friend, Sato, and that it can literally create anything imaginable. These rewards from before are absolutely nothing compared to this one. Joe wonders if this is just some fancy new way to level up, but Goldfinger scolds him, declaring, levels aren't everything. The demon explains that levels only affect your basic physique. The first awakening at D rank truly determines a person's entire future. which is exactly why he gave Joe this skill. To avoid awakening something totally useless. And just then, it hits him that Shin also had an ability type awakening, and that normal combat skills completely pale in comparison. He then fully realizes that entering a rift takes more than just brute strength. Goldfinger tells him the skill's power depends entirely on the user's mindset, and urges him to test it out already. Joe notes that after the remodeling, he can no longer feel star energy being absorbed at all. Even the system panel now looks exactly like a video game interface. Looking at his stats now, he wonders if there's even a shop feature. But to his utter disappointment, it's locked, and a bunch of other functions are also locked. Until he levels up, he then checks out the level up screen, which gives him several new side missions. But he doesn't have enough soul points to even start. Goldfinger asks what's taking him so long, and Joe explains that he'll need to enter the rift to level up first, but he's just not strong enough yet. The demon book starts whining and complaining that our hero is turning out to be pretty useless. Just then, a brand new system panel pops up right in front of Joe, announcing that another wish has just been completed. His body begins to glow as he receives a fantastic new reward. Mage armor. This equipment is of a unique grade. It can summon powerful armor around his body to block attacks. He is absolutely thrilled since it not only boosts his defense, but also significantly increases his strength. Goldfinger even tears up a little, saying he used up all the power he had stored for this, but tells Joe to do his very best from here on out. The next day, the principal asks him why he's leaving so early in the morning. Joe explains that even though it's only a day's journey away, he wants to arrive well ahead of time. He then hands the principal a mysterious note. He asks him to deliver it to his sister at the hospital and to keep a close eye on her. The man tells our hero he should do it himself, but he explains the situation is far too complicated, making it impossible to meet her at the moment. Deciding not to pry, the principal swiftly brushes the topic aside and readily agrees to the favor, as everyone wishes Joe well on his journey. And with a final nod, he waves goodbye and heads straight for his destination. Arriving at the airport, the receptionist questions why he needs a visa and a flight ticket to the city's mid-level district. Our boy simply replies that he's gained admission, which she finds bizarre since it's still summer vacation. She requests proof, and he presents Dawn Academy's card. Her eyes practically pop out as she recognizes the card. A thought crosses her mind that she's never seen one in her entire career. She then gapes at him in utter disbelief, while he simply looks confused. He asks if she also requires the admission letter, but she's quick to apologize, declaring the card is more than enough. He's astonished he doesn't even need a ticket, and she promptly explains that someone of his elevated status only needs one for the return flight much later on. Joe is now luxuriating in his first-class seat, wondering if this too is a privilege of Dawn Academy. As he gazes out the window, he hopes Dawn Academy truly lives up to his expectations and thoroughly enjoys the rest of the flight. Upon arriving at Dawnbreaker Academy, our boy feels a bit odd because the environment is eerily calm. He makes his way to the reception desk to register, and once the receptionist realizes it's Joe Chun, he eagerly offers to personally escort him into the school because someone was already waiting for him. Joe is totally shook. He never expected himself to be important enough for someone to wait on him. The receptionist leads him toward a grand stone monument, instructing him to place his special card on it. Despite his utter confusion, Joe obeys the instruction. The next thing he knows, boom, they're instantly teleported straight to the academy grounds. This astonishing experience leaves him utterly speechless. Shortly after, the receptionist brings him to the person who's been eagerly waiting. A stunning girl with flowing white hair appears. Lin wonders if our hero still remembers her. He readily confirms that he does, and he's been hoping for a chance to thank her. To his surprise, she turns out to be his senior. Once the receptionist departs, Joe wonders why Lin seems so eager to meet him. Before he can approach, Chui Ming-chong steps right in front of him. Blocking his way, Lin frowns and sharply tells Chui to be respectful to their guest. Lin invites him for a private conversation, but Joe asks to cut straight to the chase, So she proposes an offer. Join her guild. And the price she's offering? 30 million. Hearing the price, Joe's mind is absolutely blown. Even Shui Mingchong wonders if Lin has lost her mind and angrily starts spitting out insults at our guy. Lin looks in his direction, questioning. Since when were you appointed to make decisions? Sweating as he fumbles to explain himself, Shui can't help but think, why is she even defending him? Lin then turns back to Joe, informing him this is the highest she can offer. But Joe is torn between the offer and the skills he has to offer, being just a mere E-rank. Before he can say anything, an announcement blares through the hall, urging all new students to gather in the assembly hall. Lin tells him to think about it, considering how overwhelming this offer might be for him. He lets her know that he'll take her offer into consideration, and she walks him out to the assembly hall. Inside the assembly hall, a boy with golden locks, assuming himself to be superior, sits with our boy, trying to stand out. The boy's intentions toward Lin are anything but pure. He aims to control her, planning to marry her to boost his family's influence. And the orientation begins. The instructor, Zhang Hui, introduces himself and congratulates them on making it into Dawnbreaker. He calls them all geniuses, but quickly reminds them that right now, they're just freshmen. He warns them that they'll soon face something entirely new, the Fisher. A Fisher is like a hunt. Oracles are the hunters, but fate dictates when they truly fall prey. Human weapons prove utterly useless there. Only immense core strength and weapons forged from Fisher materials prove fruitful. The Dawnbreaker Academy gathers only top-tier oracles, creating a solid defense line against the Fishers. Zhang Hui directs them to the library for more information and to the training hall for combat simulations. They can arrange their own schedules. But he makes one thing crystal clear: adapt and grow stronger or become utterly useless, seeing no fear in their eyes. He declares the first assessment a roaring success. As a reward, each student receives a skill stone, a crystal that lets them absorb a combat ability. This one contains the Wise Eye, a skill that allows automatic sensing and reading of Fisher script. The instructor then announces 2 more assessments. The first is an entrance test, which requires them to eliminate 1 low-rank Fisher. The second requires them to reach D rank and awaken their potential within half a year. Some of the students instantly panic, while others relax, knowing the solution to reach D rank. Sensing their unease, Zhang Hui reassures them that supplements will help speed up the process. Then he calls in the seniors, and the hall falls silent as Lin steps forward. With her stunning beauty and undeniable aura, the instructor tells the students that their seniors will help them in their freshman assessment. The instructor continues, guiding the students to choose their mentors. The students are gasping, unable to believe Lin is right in front of them, the heir to the Shanhua Guild. A student stands up, pleading to be chosen, claiming she's the very reason he joined the academy. Lin, however, turns him down, explaining that she only accepts those of the magic type, while the student specializes in strength. Another guy, out of sheer devotion, chooses to learn magic type skills just for her, despite his mastery of strength. But she turns him down as well. One by one, she swiftly turns down every student. Her standards are incredibly high. The instructor's patience begins to wear thin. He urges her to pick at least 1 freshman, warning that if she doesn't, she'll be assigned whoever remains at the end. Among the hopeful students, the handsome boy watches with unwavering confidence, absolutely certain he'll be chosen, whether by Lin's choice or by sheer circumstance. A complete win-win situation for him. Then Zhou Chun boldly stands, asking to be her mentee. The hall falls silent. No one expects her to agree. But when she says yes, the whole room is utterly stunned. Later, in the mission hall, Zhou questions her decision, wondering why she chose him, and offered such a steep price for someone as inexperienced as he is. Lin simply tells him she has personal reasons, which she'll reveal after the test. She then introduces the team, assembled for his upcoming assessment. Su-han, the supervisor, will only intervene if a life is in danger, and any interference on her part will result in immediate failure. Lu Wei, the healer, provides recovery support, while Jialing handles long-range attacks. Leroy, the team leader, commands the formation and makes all tactical calls. Leroy sees our hero empty-handed and wonders if he's awakened any special talent. He denies it, but upon hearing that, he's visibly shaken, wondering how the academy even let him in like that. Since there's no point in complaining now, they decide to stay on high alert. On his side, Lu Wei advises Zhou to stay close for protection, but he insists he has combat experience, leaving her slightly exasperated by his confidence. Then Li Rui's team is sent to the fissure in room 1. The fissure can be opened by a world tree fragment. The moment the fissure opens, our boy feels a dense aura, hoping to find the key to level up. They emerge in a cave, and almost immediately, a pack of shadow demon wolves detects their presence. With their incredibly sharp sense of smell, Leroy and Jalen furiously charge at them, fighting with everything they got to take them down. Healer Lu Wei races over to mend their wounds. Little does she know, a beast is right on her tail.